So tonight on this episode of Reclaiming My Life, I have Annelise Bess, and I found her on TikTok. A friend of mine referred her to me because they knew that she was talking about some things that interested me. So tonight we're going to talk to Annelise and just find out a lot of things about her and just whatever she wants to share with us tonight. Hi, Annelise.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. So before we get started, before we dig into everything, is there anything that you would just like to share with us? Anything about yourself that you just want to share?
Sure. Well, as you said, I'm Annalise. I I am a mother. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm a wife. And recently I kind of accidentally became a TikToker who talks about deconstruction, which I didn't even know that that was a term, honestly,
Yeah,
until I did this and people started commenting with that word.
yep.
Um, and so kind of have found myself in that realm on there and
Mhm,
never expected to meet so many people on the same path doing
mhm.
this, but it's really opened up a lot of neat doors to connect with others on this journey like you. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
a little about me.
yeah. That's a word that I just learned like in the last month as well. Like maybe
Yeah.
2 months, but
Yeah. The only other
it
time
go
I'd
ahead.
really heard it is like as a bad word, like the church talking against deconstruction. And I had just never
Yeah.
thought of myself as a deconstructor until people started throwing that label towards me. And I thought, well,
Hmm.
I guess that's what this is. I guess that's
Hmm.
what you could call this.
Yeah, and that's when I saw, first heard the word, I was like, "Oh, so that's what you call it." That's what I've been doing over the last few years. Like, I
Yeah,
never
there's a
knew.
name.
Yeah. So tell me what led you to begin questioning or deconstructing from
Yeah,
Christianity?
never planned on it, never set out to question anything. It really was kind of thrust upon me, I guess. What started it was a chronic pain journey that started after the birth of my first son, who's 6
Mhm.
now. And it was really rough. Like it took me to some dark places because I was in a chronic pain state all the time and really was pretty much disabled, bedridden for a lot of that time.
Mm.
Um, it was okay. I rebounded after the first son, but my second son was born 3 years ago, and I didn't rebound so quickly with him, and it was much worse. And it just led me to cry out to God in a way I hadn't before, kind of like a Hail Mary kind of thing. I was in so much pain, and I hate to say this now, but it's just the truth of it. I didn't want to live anymore
Um,
because every day was physically just unbearable, and I couldn't be
wow.
involved in my children's lives.
Yeah.
I couldn't really do like the duties of a wife and a mother. And I saw so many doctors. Nobody could figure out what was going on. It was just, this is some autoimmune thing, called it fibromyalgia, some of them.
That's
They
what
could
they always
tell.
go to.
Yeah, we don't know what it is, so we'll call it
So,
fibromyalgia.
yeah.
But just this awful pain state, mainly in my back. Um, but then my mom introduced me to a, a natural medicine healer, and he told me, he said, I know how to get to the root cause of your pain, but I don't think you're going to be open to it. And
Hmm.
I told him I'm open to anything at this point because all year I just seen so many doctors. I'd had a lot of procedures on my back taken. I was at that point where they said, it's going to be opioids every day
Oh,
or
wow.
nothing. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
So met this natural medicine healer. Um, and he said, when he met me, he said he could see the pain radiating all around my body. He's very just spiritually attuned and sees
Hmm.
things in ways
Hmm.
most people don't. But the way he wanted to help me discover what was causing the pain was through a psilocybin mushroom experience, which little church girl me had never ever thought of that. Um, but I was at a very low point where I said, heck yeah. I mean, I'll do anything.
Try anything at this
I'll
point.
try
Yeah.
anything. Like, yeah, I'll go on a trip if that's what it's going to take to live.
Yeah.
And so I prepared for it. A lot of prayer, a lot of reading about how these experiences go for people, and then had the experience, took the medicine, and my whole universe just cracked wide open during that experience, and I was shown everything that I feel like a human brain could be shown in a moment
Wow.
of, a few hours.
Yeah.
But during that time, I met with undeniably what was the presence of the true living God, the creator source God.
Hmm.
And I was one with that presence for a few hours.
Yeah.
And I was shown things by that presence that I could never have known otherwise. And I came out of that experience just obviously just totally shaken up,
Hmm.
um, shown the causes of my pain, which is a whole nother story, but really just me holding on to so much um, trauma and false beliefs and just things that manifested as pain. And
Wow.
I came out of that, and from then on I was chronic pain free. It was a extremely healing experience and changed my life.
So
Uh,
immediately when you like after you did the session, like immediately the pain was gone?
it wasn't immediate. It was kind of like I was shown the problem and how to
Hmm.
address it. And it was a lot of inner work, inner spiritual work, and reframing things and learning to process um, traumas differently,
Hmm.
but slowly, but very consistently. After that experience, I healed so quickly, and I came out of that chronic pain state. And
Yeah.
I've been that way for 3 years. And if you had known me during that time, I mean, it was pitiful. I was 27, and just I remember being in a wheelchair at the zoo with my
Wow.
children. Like, I couldn't walk very far anymore.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible healing experience. Um, but what I didn't expect from it was that when I came out of it, I realized that the God I had met with was not the God that had been described to me
Hmm.
in my religious upbringing or in the Old Testament.
Hmm.
Um,
So was that
he,
kind of instant? Was that kind of
yeah,
or
but I couldn't digest it yet. Like, I
okay?
knew, I remember I came out of that experience thinking, well, that's weird. That was nothing like the God I was told to expect. Much more loving and wonderful, and there's not an ounce of anger or you know, I'm in need of blood sacrifice kind of
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
It was just the epitome of love, peace, and oneness and unity.
Hmm.
But I wasn't ready to, I don't think at that point, this was, what was this? 2.5 years ago. I wasn't yet ready to peek into my like religion and see what really needed shifting.
Yeah.
So I kind of put that on the back burner. I took the healing, I took the beautiful, lessons gotten,
Hmm.
and I knew the thing I had learned about who God was, but I
Hmm.
wasn't ready to go there yet.
Hmm.
So I went on with life for a couple of years, and then last year, my 5-year-old son started asking some questions about religion and Jesus and sacrifice that I couldn't answer, our church couldn't answer. They were just such profound questions, like, why would the God of the universe, like we're talking ultimate God of the universe, need a blood sacrifice from
And it's your
anyone?
5-year-old
My
asked you this?
5-year-old,
Yeah.
he's
So
he
you
is
were still going to church for those 2 years after the
yes. I
okay.
was not just going to church, I was on praise team, I was
Hmm.
teaching in children's ministry, I was, like, in it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was our life.
Hmm.
But when he asked that, it just opened up some memories for me from that experience with
The mushrooms.
the mushrooms that made me
Yeah.
go, "Oh my gosh, he's a child, he already knows." He knows
Yeah.
who God is, he hasn't been programmed yet.
Programmed. Right.
Uh-huh, and it's like
Yeah.
Jesus says, "The kingdom belongs to such as these." And he just could not, he's like, "I really wanna get baptized, mommy, but I can't make sense of this. I know God
Yeah.
wouldn't need that. That's not God. So I said, all right, I'm going to figure this out. So that's when I started deconstructing my religion and going back to the Old Testament and then going back to things far before the Bible, like the ancient Sumerian tablets is something I talk
Mhm.
about. And really finding out who this Yahweh or creator what the Bible calls Yahweh. Ancient Sumerian
Mhm.
tablets have other names, but same stories,
Mhm.
who that really was. Um, and answering those questions for myself so that I could answer them for my son. And I did not expect to find such kind of earth shattering answers for someone like me who was
Yeah.
raised in extreme amounts of religious upbringing.
Mhm.
But I did. And I kind of refused to believe the things I found for a while because it was just too much. It was just, I would have to admit that my whole life had been a lie.
Yeah. It's
And
it's a difficult thing to do.
it's hard. It's hard. And I struggled a lot. I struggled with depression for a good year upon finding the things out. And it's
Mhm.
crazy. It all it takes is a Google search. I mean, we live in this age of information.
Right.
It's not hard to learn where your religion began and
But we're
what.
taught not to search.
Right. Lean not on
We're
your own understanding. Yeah.
right. And we're
which
not
is
supposed to look for those things, and we're
which
not
is
supposed to read those books that were removed from the Bible. And
right.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I also began reading the Nag Hammadi, the gospels that were not chosen to be put in the Bible.
Mhm.
And the God described in those was the God I met. Um, so that has been very transformative for me, is finding texts that do describe
Mhm.
the living God that is above any deity that ever walked on this earth.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what led me to really deconstruct my religion was my son's questions. He already knew,
Wow.
he needed me to find the answers, I think, for myself than to
Yeah.
tell him, but he already knew.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
hope that as he gets older, I hope that he realizes what an impact he had on
Yeah.
your life and his life as well, because he was about to be indoctrinated.
Yes. Yes.
He
And
saved himself from that.
he did saved himself from, I thought I was doing the best thing in the world for
Of
my
course we
children,
did. Yeah, of course we
bringing them
did.
up in the church,
Of
teaching
course
them
we
all
did.
these stories, teaching them these ways.
Mhm.
It's how I was taught. It's what,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
people in that life, they do it because they want to do what's right. And they're told
Yeah,
that that is what's right.
that's right.
But then once you go and you discover where your religion came from and how it was formed and just oh, the mistranslations or mistellings of certain things, it all begins to unravel. And it's a real
Mhm.
hard thing to face. I think people who do this are really brave. I didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chosen to do it, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I so were born into a family that was already very much Christian and going to church, and
Yes.
were you baptized at a young age?
Yes. I've always been raised in the church, the primarily Southern Baptist denomination. I live in
Mhm.
Tennessee. My dad is actually a minister, and I loved my upbringing. I love my faith.
Yeah.
It is the rock I built my life upon. So finding things out and deconstructing was really shook me up.
Mhm.
But yes, that was my whole life. I think I was about 8 years old when I was baptized,
Mhm.
and I remember struggling greatly with that decision, wanting to make sure I believed the right thing and I wasn't
Yeah.
going to hell and I was making, just the
Mhm.
trauma.
Yeah.
When you look back after kind of crossing the deconstruction line, it's crazy, but truly I do love the way I was brought up.
Mhm.
If we have to be brought up in some kind of system, I'm glad it was that system. I can
Yeah.
deconstruct from that probably better than I could repair maybe growing up with no concept um,
Of anything.
of a
Yeah.
loving God. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
I don't look at my religious upbringing as a bad thing. I'm very grateful for it,
Right.
but
Right.
I'm very grateful to learn that there is so much more.
Hmm. I kind of mentioned that in my last interview that religion. I wasn't brought up in the church. I didn't grow up in the church, but when I did discover religion, it was at a time that it was very helpful to me. It was a support. It was a
Yeah,
crutch for me to get through what I was going through. But I'm grateful that yes, it was there for me it would helped me. But now I'm able to move past it. I'm able to continue to grow and evolve and not just
yeah.
stay in that.
Absolutely. That's how I see it. I see it as a tool. I think
Hmm.
religion is a tool and it can be really helpful
Yeah,
or really hurtful or both.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I think religion is just I know the Pope said this recently but I think religion is just kind of everyone's has a different take um on how to reach God, and everyone's trying through their religion,
mhm,
but the true living God is just too big to box into a religion.
yeah. So what about your family when you went through this, as you've been going through this deconstruction? How about the people that are closest to you? How have they handled it?
Yeah. So my husband is has been a great partner in it. He wasn't raised um like in the church like I was. He was
Hmm.
raised in the South, so he got the same Bible Belt
Yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
um you know, general religious knowledge as I
Right.
did, but
Hmm.
he was not a Sunday, Wednesday, you know, every holiday kinda
Right.
churchgoer. So, he has not had as hard of a time. It's actually been kinda easy for him. He's like, "I already knew this. I always thought religion was or that Christianity in particular had a lot of things misconstrued."
Yeah.
Um, so he's been really helpful, and he's been my biggest I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a cheerleader. Like when I have those moments of, Is this really how it is? This can't be right?" He's like, "It is. Keep going. Like, we're on the right path. This is,
Yeah.
he's
Good for
been
him.
that person in my corner who helps keep me from running back out of fear.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Other than him though, my my parents are, I mean, they're okay about it. They're not thrilled, I don't think.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm a grown woman, so they're just kinda
Hmm.
like, you do you."
Yeah.
But, I can tell they have some hesitation with the things I try to talk to them about that they're not quite ready for, and I get that, because
Yeah.
they've been in the faith double the time I have been, and it's really painful to face
It is.
those things.
Yeah.
I think my mom's more open to it. I think women in general can sometimes be a little more open to those things, not always,
Hmm.
but so she and I talk a little more about it, but I can tell it upsets them some, so I try not to, um I try to just love them where they're at and hope they love me where I'm at, you know?
Yeah. And that's all
Um,
you can do.
yeah, yeah,
I get it. Have the same issues with some people that are close to me as well. So it just,
yeah, it's
yeah.
hard
You
because you
accept
want
me,
them.
I'll accept you, and you accept me, and let's
Yeah,
just move on.
yeah, like, "You think I'm wrong, I think you're wrong, let's just love each other," you know?
Agree to disagree, and
Pretty much.
not talk about it, and just move on.
Yes, exactly. I just, I have kinda had to learn on this journey to stop trying to, like, convert's not the word, deconvert people, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when you learn something so profound and so freeing
Hmm.
and so life-changing, you wanna share it with the ones you
You want to
love
share it. You want to
so that
share it.
they can be set free from
The
enslavement to a
bondage.
yeah, to
Hmm.
a false system,
Hmm.
but they will defend that system till they die,
They
it's like that
will.
movie, The Matrix, and so
They
I just
will.
had to learn it's more loving to just let some people be
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
to try to open their eyes, pry them open, and make them see the truth.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I started this channel, is because I want to talk about it. And so I
Yes.
I want to talk to people that think the same way I do or similar, because we don't all have to believe exactly the same thing.
No.
Um, I don't have to believe everything that you believe. You don't have to believe everything that I believe. But
Right.
the main thing is, nobody's going to send me to hell for not believing everything that you believe. It's
Right.
okay.
Right. You're allowed to explore. You're allowed to learn things.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's so
yeah.
freeing.
Very freeing. Very
Learning
freeing.
the hell thing too was very freeing for me. And
Hmm.
yeah, that was another thing my son kind of awakened me to. He said something like, at Vacation Bible School this past summer, they said something about, people who don't go to church like us will go to hell. And I hope they didn't say that. I bet it was phrased differently, but who knows.
Yeah,
But he said, my friend so and so, he doesn't go to church. He said, "Mommy, I don't want my best friend to go to hell." And I just
yeah,
was, oh my gosh, I couldn't bear it that my 6-year-old was thinking these things. And so I had to explain to him what I had learned about the that doctrine of hell that was kind of twisted and translated to make us think it's one thing when it's really
right,
another.
right.
Yeah.
So do you all still go to church? Are you all still going to?
Not in the traditional way anymore. We had a really difficult conversation with our pastors back in early August,
Mm,
and kind of explained where we were in our walk, and said, "It's not you, it's me," kind of thing, and we've
mm,
got to go. Um, and since then, we tried a few other churches, but for the most part, they all have a pretty similar doctrine.
yeah,
Um, where on the points that are important that we know that we now know things about.
right.
So we have started meeting with another couple who really is kind of on the same journey, where um, they love God, and by God I mean like source creator, the
Mhm,
great spirit. They love God. They want to follow Christ, but they know the church isn't the way they want to do it. So we
mhm,
have started meeting with them on their farm. I think we're doing it every other Sunday.
okay,
And we study scripture together, both in the Bible, the Nag Hammadi, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then I teach a little lesson to the kids.
okay.
Um, I'm kind of working on writing a children's curriculum in this vein of thinking, kind of the
Nice.
Christian mysticism, Christian spirituality
Yeah,
way of thinking, because there's really nothing out there. And I think that as more things come to light as the next few years go on, I think there's going to be a lot of families who have the same realizations and want to teach their children something,
mhm,
but it's not in the way that the church does it, and they're going to
mhm,
need something. So as I'm teaching these kids, I'm writing everything down, and I'm including music with it, and activities and crafts,
yeah,
and compiling it so that I can make it a book to have for people who
right,
want to kind of take the spiritual leadership role for their families,
yeah,
because I do believe this is a time of knowledge coming to light. This kind of age we're entering into.
mhm. The age of Aquarius,
Age
and
of Aquarius,
yeah,
yes. It started, I
yeah,
mean, people believe it started this past Tuesday. Of course, there's
mhm,
an array of people who have different dates, but we're in it. And I think there's going to be a lot more families like mine and like our friends who want to do something for their children, because
mhm.
we didn't want it to be either the church or nothing at all. Like, we want our children to have a spiritually sound,
Foundation.
Christ-centered foundation. Yeah.
Okay,
So that's what we're doing, is meeting with
okay.
those friends. And kind of like the old-timey, I guess, New Testament churches, where they met in homes, and
Yeah, and that's the way it's
before
supposed to be.
yeah, before the capital C church made it all the way
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, and that's the way it should be. It should
Yeah.
be, small groups meeting together. It's not about this big elaborate building and paying tithes for the building fund, or offerings, and all of
Yeah.
that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Um, it should be parents teaching their children um, their beliefs and not going, I could go all day about that, but
I know, me too, and I have to be careful with how I say it and what I say because people are on a spectrum of, you know, places on this walk, and it's hard to talk about because you don't wanna or I don't wanna say something that is so upsetting to someone that
mhm,
it scares them away from looking into it, because
right.
if, um if I had told myself 3 years ago what I know now, I would have
Yeah.
run. I would have said,
Oh,
"That's
yeah.
crazy. I can't this is no, no, no."
I've been
So
there.
yeah, yeah, so you have to
Yeah.
kinda little by little just open the curtains and
Yeah.
let the light in, and it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely been there. And people try to tell me something different, and it was just like, I don't want to hear that, and
Yeah.
just no,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not feeling
Yeah.
that. So tell me, what are your beliefs about Christ, about Jesus
Yeah.
Christ?
Oh, that's a great question. So I do believe that Jesus or Yeshua, as his Aramaic name was, I do believe Yeshua was the Son of God, but I also believe we are all sons and daughters of God. And that's what Jesus came to tell us. I and the Father are one. May you and I be one. Father, may they be one with us. It's all
Hmm.
I believe we are all emanations of the divine in form. I
Hmm.
don't think anything is outside of God. I think when God created the universe, it's created of Himself. So I kind of think of us as avatars for the Spirit of Christ, and I think that's what Jesus came to teach us. Um, Not that he was a demigod to be worshipped, but that he was completely filled with the Spirit of Christ, and that we have access to that too if we sub how do I say this? If we die to ourselves, as he says in scripture,
Hmm.
die to the false ego self and allow the Spirit of Christ to live through us and be the hands and feet of Jesus here.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think of how other ways he puts it in scripture. A lot of, die to the self scriptures come to mind. Um, or when he says, to follow me, you must reject everything, like even yourself, even your
Hmm.
religion, even your and to be that avatar for Christ. So,
Hmm.
but I do believe that Jesus was like the full body incarnation of who we call God. Um, he didn't wrestle with this ego problem of like, am I Jesus or am I God? Like
Hmm.
he knew who he was. And he told us, greater things will you do than me. But we don't because we don't know who we are because no one's
Hmm.
teaching that.
Right.
They teach something totally different. They teach what the Roman Catholic Church made of Jesus's message, which
Right.
is what they combined with paganism and Judaism, and then they called it Christianity, and they took his message and instead made him a deity to be worshipped, and that's not what he came here for.
Hmm.
And I think he'd be really, really sad to
Hmm.
see what what has become of his message, that it has become this religion that makes him an idol rather than um, a way of life to follow and
Hmm.
to embody him. We're supposed to be like him, not that he's not worthy of worship. Of course, he is. I mean, Jesus, Yeshua's divine, but that's not why he came, and that's such a diversion of what I believe his intention was.
Right.
If you read any of the Gnostic texts, you get all those mystic scriptures from him. Um, I think John was a mystic too,
Hmm.
for sure. If you read just the book of John, that book is so full of mysticism, and that's kind of the vein when people say, okay, well, what are you, like, what would you label yourself now? I say Christian mysticism. I don't know
Okay.
what else to call it. It's a Christ-centered oneness with all that is, and here to love our creator and be hands and feet for our creator. So yes, I think he definitely was.
I agree. I actually started writing a book about it, and I have a journal that I created, a 30-day journal. It's called Journal to Awakening,
Oh wow.
and I haven't put it out there yet. I have a store, a health and wellness store of herbs and things like that,
Oh
and
nice.
so I have a copy in there. So I've had someone purchase a couple of them from me, order a couple from me from that, but I haven't actually put it out. I think I'm gonna try to get it on Amazon this weekend.
Yes,
But
I would love a copy. That sounds like something
yeah, I've
everybody
been
needs.
trying to. I wanted to share it, like when I do my podcast. I want to have a link to it,
Yeah,
and that's why I hadn't really talked about it much because I don't. I've been trying to figure out how to put it out there, but I think it's
yeah.
going to be try to do the Amazon thing
Oh, that's
this
great.
weekend. Trying to do that. So, but
Send me
yeah,
a
it's
link
just
when you do that because I would really
oh
love to get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's called Journal for Awakening, and it's just 30 days, and it just talks about different things. It talks about different scriptures that, that Jesus talked about that are more mystical, and then it's talks about crystals and uh,
Yes.
breathing, deep breathing,
Yeah.
breath work, meditation. It
Yes.
just talks about all those types of things and how to incorporate those things to help you with your journey, to help you awaken and self
Oh,
love and
I
self
love it.
realization and that. So, yeah.
I need
So,
one. I need one.
okay.
That the meditation thing, the way I grew up, any mention of meditation was always negative, like it's a bad thing. And
Yeah.
I've learned it's the language of God. I mean, that is how God speaks to us is in
Mhm.
meditation. My
Yeah.
whole life, I prayed till I was blue in the face and didn't
Hmm.
get words back from God. But
Hmm.
when I meditate, I just get drops after drops after drops of downloads that are
Yeah.
absolutely divine and not from my head and clearly messages from who we call God.
Hmm.
I like to say the Great Spirit. I just think that's a better name because
Yeah.
God can have such negative connotations for some people. Um,
Yeah. For
but
me, it kind of, yeah. Um, I I just say my creator
yeah,
or the
Creator,
divine source or
Source. I like all of those. Yeah, because when
yeah.
people hear God, they think Old Testament fire and
Hmm.
brimstone
Hmm.
Yahweh. So it's just, ugh. He's unnameable. He's not even he, but those are the words we have.
Right. So
But
tell me, what did you learn about Yahweh, who Yahweh is?
who that is one thing I am cautious on sharing with people because I
Okay.
don't want to, I guess I don't want to, ooh,
Offend?
not offend. I don't want to traumatize people because, um, if, like I said, if I had told myself 3 years ago what I know now, I would have
Right.
had to cover my ears.
Mhm.
But I can share some of if you'd like me to.
Yeah.
Um, basically, I learned that Yahweh was an ancient storm god of the Canaanite people who were before the Israelites. He was from a pantheon of other gods like Baal and Asherah and El. And these gods were sent to different lands to be ruler over the different peoples. And the people he was given to were the Israelites. But he has a history long before the Israelites. So I learned when I was researching the ancient Sumerian tablets, which are thousands of years older than any biblical manuscript. Yahweh is in there, but he's not called Yahweh in those tellings. Um, they refer to them more as one word you'll hear is Anunnaki, which people get
Mhm.
kind of about that because then
Yeah.
you're delving into extraterrestrial stuff, and some people just can't hear it.
Yeah.
So, but those are our oldest recorded. That is our oldest recorded creation story. Yahweh's in there, but he goes by a different name. Everything in that early Old Testament period, like Genesis to Deuteronomy, kind of area is the same as the ancient Sumerian tablets, except they don't tell you that Yahweh is a being. They thought Yahweh was God, supreme source.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there on, the Bible is written as if that is the creator of the
Mm-hmm.
universe.
Mm-hmm.
Although I
And
learned he was a deity assigned to Israel, likely an extraterrestrial, which that's going to make some people just scream, but it is what it is.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's 2024. Stuff's coming out, But but so then when Jesus comes along, it's like the people, the men who assembled the Bible wanted to assume that this Old Testament Yahweh, Judaism, God was who Jesus was talking about, but it clearly wasn't. Jesus said in multiple ways that that was not the spirit he came in, um, including one scripture, and I can't think of which book it's in, but he says, I did not come to destroy. Like essentially, he was saying, I didn't come in that spirit. I came to save men's lives. And another one, he says, you are of your father, the devil. You know your father's ways, but that is not who I come in the spirit of. So he
Mm-hmm.
was referring to the Old Testament God as the devil in that passage. Um, but, church will explain it away as in, no, no, he wasn't. He was talking about, but if
Yeah.
you just read it for what it was,
Yeah.
I mean, you see it.
People ask me, what do I believe now? And I tell them I do believe in a creator, but I do not believe in the God of the Bible. Like
Right,
I don't have anything to do with the God of the Bible. But they
right.
don't, they don't understand that. They don't understand that.
Well, you have to
And
do so much mental gymnastics to make Jesus match Old Testament God anyway. Like you have to really convince yourself, okay, so the God who is killing the firstborn sons and, wiping out entire groups of people and all those things, somehow that's Jesus's daddy. And it doesn't work, but we convince ourselves it does
not
because
even just Jesus' daddy, but Jesus himself, you
right,
know.
right. Jesus, who is 1000% love and does things totally opposite of OT God. We try so hard to make it work, but if you just do the research, you will find that is not who he came in the spirit of, and he says it himself. And it's blown my mind. But it's also been very freeing to go, oh, I knew it all along at the depths of my soul,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
verbalize it. And I know that's what Jesus was trying to say without
Mm-hmm.
getting himself killed too soon. He said in so many ways, he would correct Old Testament God. You have heard it said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but I say unto you, love your enemy. Passages like that,
Yeah.
where he will quote God of the Old Testament and say, no, no, here's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the full emanation of the living God, the creator of the universe, who I do, it's trippy and it's an open-minded thing to say, but Yahweh and all those gods of ancient past, somehow they trickle down, from supreme creator. I have my beliefs about it, which are probably too wild to verbalize to many people, um, but the true God is that spirit that was emanating through Jesus, and that it's in all of us,
Mm-hmm.
at the ground of our soul. But we're told that we're this identity up here, you know, and not to listen to that still small voice,
Right.
and it
Right.
just ruins everything.
Right. And that's why we're not, they don't teach us to meditate, and why meditation is looked frowned upon, because
Yeah.
that meditation allows us to know who we really are. It gives us opportunity to actually, like you said, get those downloads and start to understand who we truly are, and to
Yes.
start to remember our own power that comes from the creator.
Yes.
Um,
And just like Jesus said, greater things will you do than me. Like
mhm,
that's what we were designed to do, is to be Christ's in this world. But we're
right.
told instead in church, no, No,
We're
you
just filthy
worship.
rags and
Yeah,
we're
you're filthy
nothing.
rags. You're so unworthy. Wash yourself in blood and worship Jesus. I
Yeah,
think he would smack everybody saying that if he was
yeah,
here right now.
yeah.
That's just
And
so
I
blasphemous.
agree. I don't feel that we have to worship anything or anybody. And I feel like that even the creator, you know, I don't feel like there's a worship thing there that's required from the
Right.
creator. I just don't.
No, I don't think he needs he again, it's just the word.
Right.
He doesn't need a thing. I'm sure it is delightful to have your creation send out
Hmm.
loving energy, but it's not a
And
need.
yeah, great, to be grateful.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
need to be grateful. Gratitude is very important.
absolutely. I think that's
Love,
the greatest
gratitude.
form of
Yeah,
worship.
right, right.
It was when I was leading praise at our church, like during this past year, and would have to sing songs about I'm so unworthy, I'm so filthy, the blood, the blood, the blood. It just started to feel so um, demonic, so
Wow.
evil to be saying these things that I knew after I had met with the presence of the living God. I knew this is not right. This is, and then going back and researching where all that even came from, it's just
Hmm.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's talked about a lot in my first two interviews. Like I was telling you earlier, like they were kind of technical, very technical interviews. So, it's this one's kind of feels a little more relaxing. Just
Well,
like just a conversation.
oh yes, I do too. I I'm so happy to talk to someone else about this. And
Hmm.
I would assume your listeners are already interested in this kind of stuff, so it's not so jarring to hear
Right,
as if you're, coming out of the Baptist church and putting it on your radio.
right. Yeah,
But
I don't share it on my Facebook. I don't share.
I understand.
I did post not too long ago. I posted that I was starting a channel, and I shared the link. That's before I had any interviews or anything up. And I have been doing little things on my TikTok, but I have not shared either of the previous interviews on my Facebook because Facebook basically knows me as this Christian woman that
Right.
sings
Oh, you
and
see?
and does all these things that I don't do anymore.
I
So,
I totally relate.
yeah.
Completely. Like the I was on just one other podcast, the only other thing I've done, and I told my mom, I'm like, it's something I would love to share with everybody, but I know, oh shoot, I can't because people are indoctrinated, and,
Yeah.
and if they hear
Mm.
it, they will lose their minds.
Well,
And
the lady that shared your page with me was somebody that I was kind of surprised that shared it with me. But
really,
she had seen she was someone that's very close to me, has been close to me. We're not as, we used to go to church, we used to be in church together.
okay,
And we don't see each other and spend time together as much as we did in the past when we were in church together. But, we see each other's post on Facebook and whatnot, and she saw some of my TikToks and she was like, check this out. You might like her
oh
page.
wow, I'm so
And
glad.
yeah, so I asked her, I'm like, so where are you at right now? And she didn't really give me a complete answer. I think she's still just trying to figure it out. But apparently your page has been inspirational and helpful to
um
her.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It was hard deciding to share this stuff on TikTok. I Like I said on TikTok, I guess, I just shared my music on there a little
Hmm.
bit. It wasn't a thing really, but then got just this pressing um just message from the great spirit, God, saying, "Yeah, now you're going to get on there and share what you've been walking through instead." And I
Okay.
was like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not," because
Yeah.
everyone I know in my real life is a Bible Belt Christian. Like this will not
Hmm.
fly. And but it was an undeniable you're gonna do it kind of
Yeah. So how long
message.
have you been doing it?
I think I started in September, so not very
This
long.
September?
Yeah.
Well, you've got
Very
all kind of followers.
yeah, it exploded in a way I did not expect. Um,
Wow.
I think because it was like kind of shocking, maybe, maybe, maybe people who, I don't know, maybe to hear a Southern Baptist Christian saying, "Ooh, I learned some stuff, and
Yeah.
here's how it really is like,
Yeah.
whoa. I think to hear somebody say the stuff who's come out of it is
Hmm.
maybe more impactful than to hear, I don't know, someone who grew up in atheism or who grew up
Yeah.
just in spirituality say all of
Right.
this.
Right.
But to hear one of your own, like
Hmm.
one of your Christian people say,
Yeah.
y'all gotta hear this is
Yeah.
maybe maybe something that made people listen. I don't know, but it was scary to do it, and
Hmm.
but I'm glad I did. I've had to deal with a lot of, you know, cyber hate on there from people
Really.
who don't understand, but other than that, it's been very rewarding and a blessing.
Hmm. Hmm. I don't
Yeah.
think enough people have seen me yet to for that to have happened yet. I haven't,
Just
you
wait, it'll
know.
happen. You'll get called all kinds of names.
Yeah.
No, I hope not. I'm
I
joking.
can, well, I can imagine. I mean, I kind of mentally prepared myself for it. I've not that I don't understand, that
Yeah,
that's probably going to come.
yeah.
I've tried to get myself prepared for that. I had a classmate come in my store the other day. Like I said, I have the store and I do offer ionic foot detox in the store. And I had
Oh, neat.
two classmates come in last week for a detox, and one of them asked me, said, "So what? I didn't know that you were, doing all this other stuff." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "Well, I saw some of your videos," and she said, "I had no idea,
Yeah,
where you were as far, religion and everything." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, I just started explaining some of the reasons why I felt this way. And I just talked about, the God of the Old Testament and all the
yeah,
things and all the killing and all the
yeah.
everything. And I said, that's not a loving God.
No,
So I
and
said,
it
I said, I believe in a God, but not the God of the Bible.
right, right, and it's not to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, when you see the things Old Testament Yahweh did, and then the things that Jesus did, it's a no-brainer to go, these something is not like the other. These 2 don't go
Hmm.
together. But
Hmm.
then we're so blessed to live in the age of the internet
Yeah.
that you can just Google this stuff and you can find out the history
Hmm.
of the Old Testament God. And
Right.
once you read some things, you figure out real quickly this clearly this clearly can't be
Hmm.
source God
Yeah.
himself. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer once you just research.
Right.
But it's
Right.
painful. It's really
It
painful
is
seeing
painful.
someone who's built your life upon those stories
Yeah. It
and
is.
convinced yourself that that was a loving God.
Yeah. And
All
raised
of
six children in it, which I
that.
did.
Yes. Yes. How are they having to kinda deconstruct some as
Uh,
well with you?
they are in uh, different aspects
Yeah.
of it. I have one daughter that she said, I'll subscribe to your YouTube channel and I'll like your videos, but I don't think I can watch them. I think it's just
Oh,
too difficult for her to
yeah.
even fathom.
I know
And
it
it's
is.
not like she's not going to church or anything like that. She's not in church, but she still, she watches preacher on TV. She's a young mother, and she's home with a baby and everything. So
Yeah.
she watches church on TV sometimes, and it's just for her. It's just too much. And then I've got another one that's just kind of confused, and another one that is kind of helped me get to where I'm at.
Oh,
Um,
that's great.
yeah. So.
Well, I really do think that this whole age of Aquarius thing, it's a real thing, it's
Mhm.
which if you're raised in Christianity, you wouldn't even entertain it, but if you just look at what is going on in our galaxy, it really does impact us here, and it's the time for information to come to light. People are waking up, and whether they like it or not, they're gonna have to face this stuff,
Yeah.
and I think some people will be able to make the shift and
Mhm.
some people won't, and,
Right.
but it really messes with your brain to find out these kind of things, but at the same time, like burying your head in the sand isn't the answer either.
Mhm.
So, but I do understand some people have to do that to protect their own mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true because some people can't would not be able to handle, not believing in that God that they grew up believing in, and to find out or to think about him not being real. It's
Yeah.
traumatic. It's traumatic.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, Old Testament God very much was real. But for me, the good news is that's not the source God
right.
creator who emanates through all of his creation and loves us so much, and who
Mhm.
we will be reunited with completely. Although we've never left him, we are still within him, but one day our awareness will be completely one with his awareness again.
Mhm.
And to me that's great news, you know.
Mhm.
Um it's just, but it doesn't feel like great news if you're, still really attached to the idea of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's complex. It's sometimes I'm just like, is this real life? Like, have we really gotten this far in our human story that we have all been fooled into thinking these things, and we have built our society upon these things? And but then
Mhm.
once you know the truth, now you're the crazy one and nobody, will take you seriously. And it is
Yeah.
such an upside down world.
It
But I don't
is.
think it's going to be like that for long. I
I
really
don't
don't.
either.
There's so many questions that I have for you that I'm having to hold back on. I'm like, no, it's her.
No.
She's
No, no,
interviewing. Don't ask.
no.
I would
No.
just love to have you already told your story in one of your
I
interviews?
haven't. I haven't.
Because
No,
and
not
this might not
completely.
be.
I just do
I
little
know this.
snippets.
I would just love to hear your story and how you got from point A to point B and all of that. You should
Yeah.
definitely
And
do.
part of the reason why I haven't completely told my story is because it would affect some other people that are close to me. And it's kind of hard for me to tell my story without telling their story at the same
Uh-huh.
time. And they're not ready to tell their story.
Yeah,
So that's kind of a part of why I haven't done that. But, I have, mentioned a little bit in some of my videos. I've talked about a little bit in a couple of my TikToks. But basically, it started in 2021,
mhm.
after
Me too.
2020, the churches were closed down. And I mean, I think for a lot of us,
I
because we
did
just
too.
weren't going to church. And I think it kind of went from not going to church to then when the doors of the church opened back up, it was just like, I'm good. I don't have any,
Yeah,
I don't need to go. I don't need to
yeah,
go
I
back.
figured this one out.
Yeah. But for me, I think it was kind of like, well, it's still part of me was like, well, I'm supposed to go to church.
Yeah,
So I kind of had to figure out, like, well, do I need to be in church? Do I have to be in church? So that's when I started studying and digging and reading all kinds of different texts, and kind of got to a point where, like, church is not where I need to be. And
right.
I feel like I learned a whole lot more not being in church. And I
I
just
did too.
kind of ran with it. I just started learning more and more. Went through a little Hebrew Israelite phase that lasted a very short period, and just kept going from there. I was like, no, that ain't it either. And just kept going, and to where I'm at now. But yeah, I have other family that's with me on this journey.
Good.
And you know, but but then I also have other people that are close to me that think I'm crazy.
Oh, yeah, same. Same. It's I'm embracing it. I'm just like, "You know what? If that's the character I am in your head, so be it." You
Yeah.
know, because
So
once you wake up to all this stuff, it's like, I don't care who you think I am. I know who I am now.
yeah.
You can think whatever you want, and I'll.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah,
don't have a need to. The fact that I know I've changed so much is because I don't have that need to be included. I
yeah,
don't feel left out. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I don't, I'm content with myself.
yeah.
And I've been through a whole lot in my life. It would take a whole episode, for me to even go through all that. But for all that I've been through in my life, it took me this long to finally know who I am and to be happy with myself. and just the life that I have. I'm very much content. I'm very content.
That's I mean, that's it. That's what you can only hope for, contentment,
Hmm.
true
Hmm.
contentment,
Hmm.
not that constant seeking of if I can just please God and worship God and do
Yeah.
this good enough and not do this. And I mean, that's just
Yeah.
I lived in so much just self-loathing because of the religion I was raised in. You know,
Yeah.
like you said, being told your whole life you're nothing but filthy rags, you're unworthy, you're
Hmm.
when the truth is no, you are you are an emanation of your creator. You
Hmm.
know, I
Hmm.
mean, it's a total, paradigm
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah. You don't
How
have to
much?
guilt anymore and worrying about sinning and just all the things we had to worry about before. Just little things that you feel guilty about, that you feel like you doing this wrong or that wrong, or because I didn't go to church, or did I pray enough, and so
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about those things anymore. It's just a free
Yeah,
freedom, very much
it's so
freedom.
great.
And a lot of people think that just because you leave church, then now you're gonna be this. You don't have any a moral compass
You're a
anymore.
heathen now.
Yeah, you lost that moral compass, and you're just gonna do things that you shouldn't be doing. But
That's crazy. It's a
yeah,
clown world. It is. It is crazy.
it is crazy. So, in what ways have you experienced personal growth through this process?
Oh, wow. Oh, that too much to tell. Too much to tell. Let me think for a moment. Get my some words together because it's just it is unfathomable the way um my mind has grown to match my spirit, I guess I should say.
Hmm.
Um I no longer live from a place of need, meaning I don't need anyone's approval anymore, or I don't need for someone to make me feel good or make me feel good
Hmm.
enough.
Validation.
Validation. Um I don't need to be seen as special by somebody anymore to
Yeah,
know that I am, you know, incredible because I am a child of God.
yeah,
I I know um that I now ooze the presence of God in a way that I was told all my life was unattainable. It's just up in the sky somewhere.
yeah.
It's not a way of life. Now no, I know who I am and whose I am. And I don't long for the things I used to long for. I used to want to be a really successful singer-songwriter. And if I
Hmm.
didn't get it, I just wasn't good enough. If I couldn't get
Hmm.
there, my life was a waste and I was just old, ordinary blah. And now I'm
Hmm.
like, I could just sit by a river for the rest of my life and I am just as incredible and worthy as
Yeah,
some superstar somewhere
yeah.
because I contain the same spirit within me that all do, whether they
Hmm.
know it or not. Um, so that's been very freeing
Yeah.
because I used to really be a people pleaser and want to be liked and want to say the right things and do the right things, and now I don't care because I don't need it anymore, and it's just
Yes.
great.
I'm laughing because I sang.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what? As I know I'm honoring God, source, great spirit, whatever we like to name him. I don't think he really cares what he's called because he's beyond names. But as long as I am living in line with that spirit of unconditional love,
Mhm.
I'm pleased. I am set. I don't have to now
Yeah,
achieve everything that was on my list to feel
yeah,
like I did enough here. And that
yeah.
has allowed me to really live in presence and love every moment and just let every moment be what it is and it's good enough. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know, it doesn't have to be some great story of achievement. My life doesn't have to
Mhm.
be fantastic, I guess. That's been a
Yeah.
huge thing because I really did live from such a place of lack before,
Yeah.
because that's how we're really raised in Christianity. We're unworthy, we're lacking, we're in need, and
Yeah.
so those are the situations I drew into myself, you know. The law of attraction is real. You put out
Hmm.
those that energy of, oh, I'm so disgusting, and
Yeah.
nothing good can happen to me without, no, now I live with the abundance of Christ, truly, not just this idea of Jesus in the sky Christ, but like
Yeah.
living as the spirit of Christ, and that brings goodness and love and abundance towards me in a way it didn't before because I lived from such a place of lack.
Hmm.
And so that's been
Yeah.
probably the most notable
Yeah. That's
growth.
that's
But
wonderful.
there's
Yeah.
too many to name, really.
Yeah. I get
Learning
it.
learning to live in presence has been fantastic though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you have, this is going to be my last question. If you
Okay.
have any advice for anyone that is going through this process of questioning, or maybe even started their deconstructing, what advice would you give them?
I think I would say don't fear and don't get caught up in the fear of, oh, what if this is wrong? What if I have it wrong and I'm going to go to
Yeah.
hell? And none of it's true. None of that is true. You are you are here to know your creator. You are known by your creator, and you have the freedom to explore how to connect more deeply with your creator. And if there's any fear in that, that's probably your programming, and it's a trick. And if it wasn't for my husband constantly like pushing me on,
Yeah.
I think I would have run back because my fear was so great.
Hmm.
We left our church last year, and I didn't make it 2 days before we went running back, apologizing for leaving,
Um,
saying, "Oh, we made a mistake because of
oh,
me." 'Cause I was like,
yeah.
"No, no, this can't be right. This can't be right." Well, then we sit in church a whole 'nother year singing songs and hearing sermons in with things we know aren't right, and I'm like, "Dadgummit." I I had it right I had it right the first time, but I let the fear chase me back.
Yeah.
So we left again. I mean, it was a mess. We had to say, "Ooh, we gotta go again." I mean, it was ridiculous. It was embarrassing. But we had to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
But it was the fear. I let fear hold me back for a
Hmm.
full year. And once I was able to say, "You know what? I know what I know. I know the truth. It's been revealed to me. History literally backs it up. I can't keep pretending my programming is the right thing."
Hmm.
But that programming is so strong. So I would just say, don't fear. Don't don't let your programming control you anymore, and allow yourself to explore. Nobody's going to smite you for exploring. Like
Hmm.
Jesus himself says, seek, ask, knock, and it will be
Hmm.
revealed to you.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
say, no, stay in your church pew and don't ask questions. It's the opposite.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's what I would say. If I could say
Great
something to
advice.
myself a few years ago,
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
it.
that's great advice. That's great advice. So,
Thank you.
well, I thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Was there anything else you would wanted to share before we go?
Oh, I don't. Just that, like you already said, God is very real. All this discussion is not. I don't lean towards atheism at all because of my awakening. It's quite the opposite. I
Yeah.
know God so deeply now. The word God just can't even sum God up.
Hmm.
But just to know, as for anybody who's listening, as you're seeking and as you're deconstructing, God is extremely real. God is at the ground of your soul, and God is drawing you closer to himself. So, don't fear that this is going to lead you further from God, because if you're being led by the spirit of our creator, it's going to be quite the opposite. You're going to
Yeah.
you are going to be so pulled into the heart of God that you just can't even stand all the love. And yeah, I think that's it. Just how much God really does love us. Like we did
Yeah.
learn in church and Sunday school. It really is
Hmm.
true. It's not that picture of God that we were taught about, but
Hmm.
God is love.
He's
And
still there. He
absolutely.
the creator,
The creator, the great
the
spirit,
source. Yeah.
God, whatever name you like. He
Yeah.
is he is not a he or she, obviously, but
Right.
just he is all around and all within and pure love. And yeah, I just want people to know that, not to think either it's Old Testament God or no God at all. I think that's something that really brings about
Mhm.
a disbelief in God. Because
Yeah.
people are smart enough to know, well, that can't be right. So
Right.
they just say, well, then there's not a God. Well, of course there's a
Yeah.
God. How did you get here? And there is, but so much greater than how he was explained to us.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Annalise, for
Thank you.
talking
Thank you
with
for
me.
having me.
I really enjoyed talking to you, and we can do this again sometime.
I
We
would
can do
love
this again.
to. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed talking to you. I want to hear your story and like
Yeah.
all
We'll
of it.
talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
either we can talk or you share
Yeah.
it on here one day and I'll watch it. But I,
Yeah.
I just love meeting other people on this journey too, because I don't know anyone except my husband and then people on TikTok who are walking
Yeah.
this road.
Hmm. Yes, this is very helpful, therapeutic to be able to
Yeah.
talk to other people that are, and like I said, we don't have to believe all the same things and we don't have to be on the same exact journey, but it's just the fact that our eyes are open, we are open to different things and not confined in this small little religious box to not
Yes,
being able to seek and look and get our own understanding that works for us.
absolutely. And just the
Yeah.
simple fact that this earth is, I would say, millions, billions, whatever years old. It's not the
Hmm.
6,000 years old, obviously, that
Yeah.
we're taught it is in church. That
Hmm.
fact alone should make someone open their eyes and go, okay, so what was going on before Jesus and before Yahweh? Like, we've been here a
Hmm.
long time. Like, there is so much to explore and just I just love it. I just love this
Yeah,
whole awakening journey. And
I do too. I love learning. I love learning
yeah,
new things. It's exciting. It is a journey, and
it
it's
is.
exciting. Yeah, it is.
I just tell myself pretty much I am wise enough to know that I know nothing at all.
Hmm.
I know what I've been taught. I know what
Right,
I've read, what I've heard,
right.
but the truth of it is, except for that except for that experience where I met with that presence of God so potently, other than that, I know nothing. And
Yeah.
that's just a freeing place to be, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to include your TikTok or any other information in the description so people can come and follow you, know how to get in touch with you or just to follow you if they want to see your, be on your social media and learn more about
Yes.
you and your story and what you have to share.
That would be great.
So,
And I've recently started a Patreon as well, where I'm
okay,
releasing more long form
okay,
content, talking about these kind of things. And you
hmm,
can message me directly on there too. So
okay,
um, I can send you a link to that. But I'm
yeah.
on there,
Send me.
TikTok, Instagram, all the things.
Right. I recently started a link tree, so I just
Yeah.
put my link tree on there. So, but yeah, send me all that information. So when I upload this video, will be uploaded. When I do upload it, I'll have that in the description so that
Okay.
people can follow you. And
Thank you.
all right, thank you again. You have a good
Thank
evening.
you. You too. Great to talk to you. Bye.